We welcome you back to the program. Yesterday was, of course, the regular monthly meeting for 3rd Laguna Hills Mutuals Board. We televised that live yesterday morning at 9:30 and a replay tonight, or last night at 6 o'clock. There'll be another replay coming your way tomorrow, Thursday at 1:30 in the afternoon. We're joined today by Mike Straziuso, who is the president of 3rd Laguna Hills Mutual. And, you know, we had you on Monday. We talked a bit about the Robert's Rules of Order class that you're taking, and they're going to make a presentation down here on the 28th, and people can attend that. But it was pretty obvious yesterday you were trying to utilize some of those trained techniques that you've picked up in that class. Sometimes successful, sometimes not. And you had a few things going on there at the meeting yesterday that maybe made it a little hard for you to chapter and verse Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, I'll start by apologizing. 3 hours and 35 minutes. I tried so hard to rein in the off-topic discussions, but it was a futile effort. I got emails afterward and I got telephone calls. The level of behavior by the board yesterday was, what is it called, below the pale, just incredible. After so many years on the board, one would think that you would not have to remind members of the board when they're not speaking to turn off their mic. But they do, and they leave it on, and they have cross conversation, and they clear their throat while other people are speaking. The behavior is just incredible. It made it near impossible for anybody to watch.
It is an interesting phenomenon. As you folks may know, each of the directors has a, perhaps you don't know, has a button they can push which turns off their microphone, which again, if they're wishing to say something, a side comment to a fellow board member, it isn't picked up if they've muted their microphone. Of course, the other side of that issue is they need to remember to turn it back on before they speak, and obviously that's the other side of that equation as well.
Yes, good point. When I got home last night, it was an automatic turn on the board meeting. And from the chair, I am preoccupied with staying on the agenda, paying attention to who has raised their hand. And from the chair, I did not pick up all of this cross-talking and clearing throat, and my goodness sakes, well, Robert's Rules, you know, starting with directors' comments and responses to members' comments, it's treated as a segue to put out their personal agenda. It's not the time for personal agenda. It's response, and the response should be a minute, 2 minutes.
Let me just interject a little history. I've worked here long enough to remember when board members had their meetings in closed doors back in some of the early days of this community. And then the doors were opened up and the residents were allowed to come into the meetings, but were not allowed to speak. So the idea of giving residents a chance to have a say-so on items not on the agenda, as well as the ability to comment during debate on agenda items, is not something that's always been the reality in this community. So it's something that has evolved over the years, and I think the openness and the televising of the meetings personally, my personal feeling is that's a good thing. It lets the residents in on the meeting. Not everybody is able to come down here for the live meeting, or maybe watch it live or watch the replays. So it's a good way for people to find out what's happening with the boards of Golden Reign, United, and Third. That being said, that the members' comment time and then the director's response time sometimes is perhaps longer than the president might wish. But if you've opened the door, you've opened the door.
Well said, of course, always. Another issue relative to Robert's rules. When we have a motion on the floor, we have a right to speak in favor of or against the motion. And I have been trying so hard to get the members to state whether they're speaking in favor of or in opposition to the amendment, and then defend their position. But they won't start that way. I remind them, and when they raise their hand to speak, it may not necessarily be on the motion. Keeping our group on topic is such a challenge.
What's the procedure? You mentioned it briefly on Monday when we had you on. You were talking about the Robert's Rules of Order group that you attend in Garden Grove that's going to be down here on the 28th giving a presentation on part of all of that. The person who is making the resolution, they get first shot at making their case, so to speak, correct?
Yes.
And then you open it up to the rest of the board members.
Yes.
Procedure is to raise your hand or just to speak up?
Raise your hand.
And you would recognize them.
And the chair recognizes them, yes.
And then following all the directors that choose to have a say-so on for or against the motion, you then open it up to the audience and see the residents have any comments they'd like to make.
That has been the tradition. That is not common in public meetings. It's been tried before, and I think we're headed in that direction. Member comments at the beginning of the meeting, we announce anything not on the agenda. And we are leaning toward anything, period. Mm-hmm. If it's on the agenda, speak up then, and not during while the motion is on the floor. Yesterday, it was incredible. The audience did not come up and address us during any of the motion discussions. Hello, when has that happened before?
Yeah. We never know. We look at the agendas before the meetings and we sort of amongst ourselves here kind of predict, oh, this is going to be a short meeting or a long meeting, and we're always wrong. Sometimes the lengthy agenda is done in an hour.
I thought it was a short agenda.
Yeah.
It turned out not to be.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of the decisions that were made yesterday. One of the biggest ones, and it's been an issue for a couple of years now, and that's the dry rot situation, which gets discovered during the painting process. And Marcel Bradley was there giving a little presentation on that for you as well, but talking about the fact that you folks are going to have to deal with that on an ongoing basis, it sounds like, as you paint each building, checking for dry rot and wood repair will become part of that process.
It is, and it's become very, very expensive. Yesterday, relative to dry rot, we approved $953,000 of repair work. The majority of it is in 3-story buildings, and that process is going on right now. There were 18 beams replaced in the building I live in, 18 beams. And the building across the cul-de-sac was scheduled for 17 beam replacement.
And that gets us into why that money is available, and that's available because of good reserves and good budgeting. You're right now in the process of, in the middle of the 2013 business plan and budget. I believe it's this Friday you'll be getting a presentation from staff on version 2 of your budget for next year?
Yes. And version 2 has incorporated everything that we changed in version 1, and version 2 may not have any changes, and we may get through that meeting in short order. One of those, I look at the agenda, gee, this won't take long. We'll see how it goes. GRF's version 2 is tomorrow, Thursday. So,
and these are all open meetings. Residents can attend those.
And residents' input is invited, yes.
And then we're still at the level of version 2 where some changes are fairly easy to do. By version 3, it's pretty locked up as to
Yes.
what's going to be presented to the board for a final vote.
Yes.
And that'll be in September. At your September meeting, you'll officially adopt the budget, albeit it'll be version 3 for all intents and purposes.
Yes. I'd like to point out that Hillel Pitlick gave the most incredible presentation yesterday, debunking a comment made from the audience the month before that 200 votes were cast out and not counted. Oh my goodness.
Mr. Pitlick with the inspectors of election on your
Yes.
upcoming board elections.
And he gave us step-by-step what we do, different color envelopes, 2 different boxes. But when they take them, excuse me, periodically take them out of the boxes. If they have envelopes from the wrong mutual, they correct it.
Right.
And it's multiple times, not wait until it's the end.
And while it's residents of the community that are the inspectors of election, the actual tabulation is handled by an outside firm who I believe also does work for the county on our countywide elections.
Yes.
So they're a professional company that tabulates those, and they do it. And that's also done in a live meeting, a open meeting, so people can actually see those votes being counted at that time.
It's so efficient and so well supervised and so well executed. Questioning how that rumor got started is beyond me.
We had a couple of guests on this show on Monday, and they talked about the process for becoming a board member of Third Mutual. And the first step, of course, stop on the second floor in the general manager's office and get the forms and get started on that. They're there to meet with people, give them advice and counsel, and explain the process, talk a bit about what kind of meeting expectations there would be, and help them, and to assist them really as candidates. At this point, you have, I believe, 3 members whose terms are coming up. One of those 3 cannot run for a 3rd term, so 2 terms is all you can run for consecutively.
Yes.
So we'll need at least some candidates there. We don't know of the incumbents. Will they run for 2nd term? Have they announced that yet?
Yes. They announced it on your show a month ago.
Okay.
Lucy.
Okay.
Lucy
Did say it, yeah.
Yes. Lucy and she announced that she and Richard intend to run for another term.
But that doesn't preclude others from running and challenging them as well.
Oh.
And of course, I believe it's Carol Moore's term is up. She's served 2 consecutive 3-year terms on the board. So she needs to take at least a year off before she runs again, I guess, is the way
Yes.
that works. So again, we need you folks to think about running. If you live in Third, if you're an owner, resident, those are the requirements, and have the time.
It's strange if you were watching the camera occasionally was on Carol Moore, and she was during the meeting reviewing a booklet. The title was Candidate Information. I suspect there's another board somewhere that she may be thinking of running for.
And those elections will be continuing on for the fall season, so we urge you folks to get involved and be a part of all of that. To pay for all this, obviously the Finance Committee, very important. Rachel gave a lengthy presentation on the budget with some graphs and pie charts and numbers and a lot of information on where the dollars are coming from and how the dollars are being spent.
Yes, she has such a terrific grasp on finances, and it's been her background for years as a budget manager, and yet she was challenged on some of the numbers. And if you deal in finance, there are rounding errors, and not errors per se, but if you round, you may not get 100% on your pie chart.
Right. Here, I think we pretty much round to the thousands. When you get at the state level, they round to the billions, and when you get to the federal government, it's the T word.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we're dealing with at least numbers that most of us can perhaps comprehend and understand. So Ray gave that presentation. One of the things you're going to be doing to improve the appearance of the place is what you call pavers. And this is a look that's a little more aesthetic than just bare concrete or something like that. So pavers are going in around several of the cul-de-sacs in the community.
Yes.
All right. The president has spoken on that one. And you had a chance yesterday to break a tie which is sometimes does happen with a 11-member board, 5-5 tie, and you have a chance to break the tie.
Yes, you can either create a tie
Right.
or break a tie.
Right, and a tie is a no.
And yes.
No, yes. Sounds like a confusing discussion. If you folks missed that meeting or want to see it again, it will be coming away tomorrow, Thursday, starting at 1:30 here on Channel 6, and again next Wednesday evening, coming your way at 6 o'clock as well. So a lot of good opportunities to see that meeting. We urge you folks to think about running for the board, and if not, at least start coming to the board meetings. And again, this Friday will be the version 2 of the third mutual budget for 2013. And the people elected this fall will be working on the budget for the 50th anniversary. Seal Beach Leisure World, as they still call it, is celebrating their 50th anniversary. This is the week of their 50th anniversary.
Oh my goodness.
2 years later, this community opened up, and so 2 years from now, you'll be celebrating your 50th anniversary as well here in this community. So lots of things happening.
You celebrate how many years?
I've been here 44 years.
44?
Yeah.
You must have been a
child,
child.
a mere child, a mere boy, a mere college student, yes. Good to have you on the show. We thank you
Thank
for
you.
being with us,
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you back here next time that you're with us on the program. We'll see you folks in about 2 minutes after we come back for more news. Stay with us as Channel 6 News continues for Wednesday.